Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Spider-Man the Icon. Now this is by Steve Saffel and obviously introduction forward, I should say, by Stan Lee. This book came out in 2007, which is quite amazing. 14 years ago. I remember this book coming out. Now I only just picked this up for next to nothing £1 or something at my local charity shop. So I thought, wow, that's pretty good. I will have a copy of that. I must admit, I didn't realise. It's one of those books that I've looked at a number of times and always sort of ignored it. I don't know why. I thought maybe it was a movie sort of related one, and because of the cover and everything and all sort of stuff, I thought, But actually, it's quite a really good book. 320 pages, I should say, in colour predominantly. So you can see there colour all the way through, and it's full of all the merchandise, the comics, lots and lots of examples, pictures, some original artwork, of course, the usual sorts of things. But and some of it I remember, some of it I have no idea, because being in the UK, we didn't get this stuff. Lots of the things, the Slurpees and things, and all the various toys. I'm certain some of it came over to the UK, maybe in different forms, but I just didn't see it. Saw the comic books, but even there we had gaps. We had weird things. Of course, we had PAL comics. We had sort of Spider-Man Weekly and those sorts of things. Some of the American comics just didn't turn out. So there's obviously the introduction there. You've got a lovely cover there of issue 19. See Dr. Octopus there. Ooh. And you also got some bits here, the prototypes. I love the prototypes because you've got all the sort of, with Aunt May, Uncle Ben, and those sort of references. Aunt May, look, Aunt May. Slightly different, but then again, saying that, quite often you see a lot of Steve Ditko. Quite often you think that looks like Peter Parker. There's Peter Parker in quite a few of those very early 1959, 1960, 1961 sort of comics, and you can sort of think that looks like Peter Parker. I love that one. That's Spider-Man. Now I don't think that Spider-Man would have caught on in the same way. So, or nor the other one, actually, to be honest. However, of course, there's the cover, and it actually also has got the original. Well, what's the original cover? You've got the original cover there. I mean, I think personally, I would have bought either. Frankly, that to me looks just as good. I'm certain that wouldn't have made me any less than that one, frankly. It's very similar. It's not that. Introducing Spider-Man. In fact, actually, maybe the text Spider-Man going off slightly in that looks a bit odd. But, yeah. In this epic surprise-filled issue. Though the world may mock Peter Parker, the timid teenager. And also you've got there Electro there, and of course you've got the original Spider-Man #1. Legend is Born, you've got Sandman 1 there. Of course you've got the brilliant annual. Now the annual is one of those ones where I'm sort of, sometimes I love it. It's one I think there's some good stories in it, some great moments in it, but there's so many flaws in it. You can go through it and you think, why? No, yes, that doesn't make sense. So it's one of those, it's a good book, 72 big pages. I always love that bit as well, big pages. Were they any bigger than any normal comic book? No. So why was it big pages? Just standard size pages. However, they did do a big one, of course, which they, of course, did not continue with, which I think was one of the saddest losses, because if they'd done Spectacular Spider-Man and done like 50 or 60 issues of that, wow, we'd have had some really awesome black and white artwork by various artists, I'm certain, that would have been done, and some probably good stories and some probably pretty ropey ones as well, but it would have been wow. But they copped out, I don't know what, for whatever reason. They obviously went colour and then only did 2 issues, but what a pity. I love those ones as well, king size special. Now, it always baffled me whenever sometimes you see it as annuals, somehow king size special, it's always slightly different. I always felt that was a reprint or something. It wasn't, often did have reprint stories as well. There you got Captain Action. Weirdly, not Captain Action at all. However, Spider-Man. So you got lots of the toys. Marvel Flyers, you've got Amazing Spider-Man 70. I think that did get to the UK. I think I did remember seeing, but I'm certain. Maybe I just saw the adverts. But I didn't have them anyway. So you got all these ones. Sin Show, superhero ones where you've got the sort of slide stereo viewer sets. I remember those. I don't know if I ever saw one that was Marvel Comics ones though. Of course, you've got the books, Amazing Spider-Man. I've got a couple of those, but not those ones, unfortunately. Also, the Make Mine Marvel. You've got all the various joining the Merry Marvel Marching Societies, Marvel bullpen page, and you've got obviously that lovely sweatshirt, t-shirt. You've obviously got the cartoons as well. Love those. Oh, this book's quite hefty as well. It's really quite weighing me down. I know a lot of people turn around to me and say, well, why don't you just have it sort of overhead project? I could do that. But I enjoy it. Why not just do some exercise as well as combining book reviews? So you've got here the brilliant, I love that, absolute masterpiece. Well, for me at the time, I remember picking it up at Victoria Station. It was just one of those ones, and I was just like, wow, this is quite an early comic that I bought, and just love that one. Now, that one I didn't get because, like I said, by that time I think we weren't getting them in the UK for some weird reason, so never picked up a copy of that. That would have been Dark They Were and Golden Eyed had the imports of those, and probably just, I wasn't that big a Spider-Man fan. I mean, I love Fantastic Four, Avengers, X-Men and those sort of ones. Spider-Man, it was okay, but it wasn't that one I love. I never could understand why that was introduced into this, Marvel Superheroes. Just sort of mentions it here that it was apparently going to be in one of the Spider-Man ones, but just for some weird reason it ended up in that. Very odd. But that was a classic. I love that one. Of course, the Battle of the Century. And you've got loads of, obviously, other examples. Human Torch one there, Marvel Team Up. I always love Marvel Team Up. It's always one of those ones that, for some weird reason, they haven't brought out an Epic collection yet. Not really certain why, because it just seems to be a massive oversight. They've only had one Marvel 2-in-1 of the Epic collection, so it's very odd. However, I did get a copy of that recently. Did have a copy before when it came out. Of course, got rid of it stupidly, and of course I bought a copy. But now my copy's very battered, and but it's still a really great issue. I regret, of course, POW. These were the ones that. Now this is where I started reading comics back in the early 66, 67, whatever it was, of POW, and this one obviously 21st January 1967. You got some obviously other current. I don't know which countries, probably assume Deutschland, probably that's obviously German, and I assume obviously Spanish. My apologies if it's not. I think it is. Could be somewhere else. However, Spider-Man's Comic Weekly, and that's the one I got. Now that one I haven't got now. I've got issue 1, but I haven't got issue 6. And that was obviously brilliant. I bought all of those. I don't know why I bought those instead of buying the American ones. Would have made more sense buying the American ones, but it's just something. My mum worked in a local newsagent, so I just always go and buy them there. And it was just something I did. And they would always have a pile of old, obviously the American ones, but obviously not the Spider-Man ones for some weird reason. You've got you've got Cream magazine. We didn't get that in the UK, or if we did, I never saw copies of that. And of course, a lot of the American magazines would never have turned up. We've got some more toys there. More toys, lots more toys. Oh, Foom. I love the Foom. Now, I did order that. I got, I think, 4 issues. And I think I got it quite late, actually. It was about issue 10 or something, 10, 11. I got that. Did have that, the poster. And that never turned up so regularly here. Never saw that anyway. Spider-Man Super Stories. Even now, it's very hard to find copies of that. When you go to comic marts and things, you look for all the comics, and quite often I think, you know what, it'd be nice to find a copy of that those stories. They don't turn up for some weird reason, or I don't see them anyway. Comic Reader, I remember that one. Got a few issues of that. Also the newspaper strips, Best of Spidey. Oh, interesting one. And more, obviously, there's the wedding. There's lots and lots of brilliant examples all the way through. I love this one, Spider-Man's Christmas. Now, I must look for a copy of that. I love Christmas, and of course, it'd be nice to get Spider-Man's Christmas one. And lots more examples. And Spider-Man 2099, Spectacular Spider-Man, 200th issue. Got amazing how many issues that's gone through. Remember when it came out, issue 1, I thought, wow, it's very unusual. Spectacular Spider-Man instead of Amazing Spider-Man. Then suddenly you get looking, and that's, of course, brilliant. Alex Ross. Love that one, the old Marvels. Brilliant. Even now, I love that one. Spider-Man and Batman, Untold Tales and cards. There's actually a lot of information, quite a lot of description and information about things I must admit I didn't realise about the Marvel, or even sort of things about the various share offers and things, all the various details about their balance sheet and things. You think, well, that's a lot of detail. It sort of tells you the amounts of money involved in the thing. There you go. Cartoon Heaven, you've got obviously the cartoons, you've got obviously Marvel Mania, You got lock, stock, and barrel. That's what I mean. You've got all the various details there. Quite Marvel Quarterly Report done in a sort of comic book. Now, I bet some people try and get copies of those just so they have every single bit of Spidey and Mad. And of course, it gets into the films as well as also all the various statues and things. Now, I have to say, this is a fairly comprehensive. Obviously, it finishes at 2007, so anything that's happened, anything later, of course, it's not going to be included. But still, it's quite an interesting book and quite a lot of information. Though it's falling to pieces. This one, I've noticed, is just slightly. I suppose that's why it was only very cheap, but it's still decent. Substantial book, and if you're into Spider-Man, I think this is quite a really nice thing to add to your collection of Spidey memorabilia. If my copy doesn't fall apart in front of me. Well, totally recommended.